How's it going, everybody? J-Mac here. Today we're going to go over a Torment 10 Firewall speed farming build. The basic idea is that you want to get the Ingeon proc so that your Firewall has a 0 cooldown, and then you pretty much just light the entire ground on fire, and it just wrecks the trash mobs, the white mobs. Then you run things like Gargantuan and the Tall Man's Finger with Gargantuan dogs to take care of elites and champions and bosses, the single target stuff. And man, the build is extremely fast. I honestly didn't expect it to be quite this fast on Torment 10. Did about 30 runs yesterday, and I think about 3 of those runs were a little over 5 minutes, but every other run was under 5 minutes, and a few of them being, like 3 to 3.5 minutes, depending on if you get, a really open, dense map. Some of the outside maps will allow you to do that. But just keep in mind, this is the PTR. Everything that you see here is subject to change. Although, honestly, I only see this build getting stronger. I seriously doubt it'll get nerfed, as Helltooth, from what I've heard, is going to get a little bit more buffed as the PTR goes on. So, just keep that in mind, though, that they may change some things and tweak some things at some point in time. Also, this is kind of what I've landed on as far as damage and speed goes. For Torment 10, you definitely want to have a good amount of movement speed, but it's not quite as imperative as it was in, say, Torment 6 farming, where you're killing things so fast that you wanted just tons of movement speed. But you want a good amount and kind of balance that with your damage, and this is kind of where I've landed personally, and I think this is a good mix of the two. So let's get right into it with the abilities. First up, we have Wall of Death Firewall. Raise a wall of flame 40 yards wide for 8 seconds that burns enemies who walk through, causing them to take 1000% weapon damage as fire over 4 seconds. This is really going to be the majority of our AoE clear, which is very imperative for Torment 10 farming. You're going to be able to just light basically the entire ground on fire, and enemies will walk through this. It's also going to be buffed by the 6-piece Helltooth bonus to deal even more damage. You could also potentially run a poison build with Ring of Poison or a cold build with Communing with Spirits. I haven't tried either one yet, but they are possibilities. I think Firewall is probably the best for a Torment 10 speed farming setup, though. Fortify Stalker, basically just 20% more move speed. Summon Zombie Dogs, Burning Dogs. We're running the Tall Man's Finger, so we're going to have a Gargantuan Dog. It's going to give us even more AoE clear and a good amount of single target damage as well. This also is buffed by the 6-piece Helltooth. Spirit Walk Jaunt for more movement speed. Soul Harvest Soul to Waste. Gain 5% increased movement speed for each enemy harvested. So we're going to have 25% more movement speed, basically with Soul Harvest. It'll be up really all the time, and they're also gaining 3% intelligence for each affected enemy, so a little bit more damage there as well. Gargantuan Wrathful Protector. So we're going to have really pretty high uptime on Wrathful Protector with the Ingeon proc and being able to kill things so quickly with Grave Injustice. And we're running Short Man's Finger as well, so we'll have 3 little Gargantuans that just deal a ton of damage. This is going to be a lot of our single target. This is going to kill elites and champions and bosses very fast for us. And really just a lot of fun. As far as passives go, Gruesome Feast. Going to get a ton of intelligence out of this. We're running Thing of the Deep as an offhand, so we'll have 5 stacks up pretty often for a lot of damage. Grave Injustice, again with the Thing of the Deep. We're going to get a lot of cooldown reduction here, which is really good, especially for the Wrathful Protector, Gargantuan, and really for Wall of Death too. At times you're not going to have the Ingeon proc. You're going to have elite and champion droughts every once in a while, and between this and the Jerem's Bracers that allow you to still cast Firewall, Wall of Death quite often. Pierce the Veil for more damage, and then Midnight Feast for more damage to our Gargantuan Dog and our 3 small Gargantuans with Short Man's Finger. Also, I'm running a Hellfire Amulet currently, which we'll go over in just a minute, but I have the Fierce Loyalty passive with that for more movement speed. Next up, we have the gear. So you definitely want an Ancient Ingeon. That's the most important thing. An 8-second roll is totally fine because Firewall is only an 8-second cooldown, but the higher the better. The more cooldown you get, the faster you're going to be able to cast Gargantuan and Jaunt and things like that. I went the CDR roll for now. That could be a Vitality or attack speed roll if you wanted it to be. You got the Thing of the Deep. The most important things here is that you get crit chance and Wall of Death damage more than anything else. You get that 20 pickup radius there. We've got the Short Man's Finger with crit damage, crit chance, and CDR, and a socket. The CDR could be intelligence. And then we have the Tall Man's Finger, which is very poorly rolled. You're going to want a socket, crit damage, crit chance, and then probably intelligence on that. We got the gold wrap. This is where the majority of your toughness is coming from. Gain armor for 5 seconds equal to the amount of picked up gold. We're also running the Boon of the Hoarder legendary gem, so tons of gold is going to be dropping. As long as you continue to kill enemies, you're going to continue to get more and more and more toughness from picking gold up. This is really where all the toughness in the build is coming from. You just have to be careful at the very beginning of a rift before you haven't got any of this buff yet. You could get one-shotted potentially if you're not careful enough. We've got the Jerem's Bracers. Again, a lot of the time Jerem's Bracers aren't necessary because we have the Ingeon procced, but there are times where you have Elite and Champion droughts where this is really, really good, along with Grave Injustice, to make sure you're continuously casting those firewalls to keep your clear speeds up. We've got a Hellfire Amulet with Fierce Loyalty there. Again, it could be any of the 5 passives that I'm running, and then you want crit damage, crit chance, and a socket, and then either intelligence or fire damage is fine. Next up we have the Helltooth pieces. Now the 2 set, enemies hit by, and the abilities that we currently have that are going to proc this are Zombie Dogs, Gargantuan, and Wall of Death. They're going to be afflicted by necrosis, becoming slowed, taking 1000% weapon damage every second, and taking 15% increased damage from all sources for 10 seconds. In the 4th set, after applying necrosis to an enemy, you take 50% reduced damage for 10 seconds. And then after casting Wall of Death, gain 300% increased damage for 12 seconds. And the abilities, again, that are going to be affected by this that we're running are Zombie Dogs, Gargantuan, and Wall of Death. And this effect stacks up to 3 times for 900% more damage. So as far as the pieces themselves go, we got the Helltooth Mask with Int Vitality, Crit Chance, and a socket with a CDR gem. Helltooth Mantle with Int Vitality, Life Percentage, and Wall of Death damage. The Wall of Death damage is very important. Again, with the Helltooth Tunic, Int Vitality, Wall of Death damage, and 3 sockets. We got the Gloves with Int, Crit Damage, Crit Chance, and CDR, although the CDR could be attack speed. The pants here, Int Vitality, Armor, 2 sockets, and then the boots. Int Vitality, Armor, and Movement Speed. As far as the legendary gems go, again, the Boon of the Hoarder, chance on killing an enemy to cause an explosion of gold, which pairs very well with the gold wrap, and then we get the 30% increased movement speed for 2 seconds after picking up gold. And we've got the Bane of the Powerful. You should be able to keep this buff up pretty much the entire Torment 10 Rift with how quickly we're killing. And then we've got the Bane of the Trapped for more damage against enemies under the effects of control impairing effects. And the Firewall is going to proc this more than anything else, especially with the 2 set bonus here of the Firewall afflicting necrosis, which slows enemies. Next up we have the Kanai's Cube abilities. So for the weapon we have the Furnace, giving us 50% more damage against elites, champions, and bosses. I think this is what you want to run, mainly because you want to be killing elites and champions very quickly to make sure you keep the Ingeon proc going. You could, however, run a Sacred Harvester, and I've thought about it, for 5 more Soul Harvest stacks for 25% more move speed and more intelligence. We've got the Mask of Jerem to buff our Gargantuan Dog and our 3 Gargantuans with the Short Man's Finger, and then Convention of Elements for a 200% damage multiplier when it rotates around to fire, which is going to deal just a ridiculous amount of extra damage there. As far as Paragon points go, get as much movement speed as you need, and then go intelligence. Offense-wise, crit chance, crit damage, cooldown reduction, then attack speed is what I did, although you could probably go attack speed before the CDR, but make sure you go crit chance, crit damage first. Defense-wise, armor percentage, life percentage, all resist life regen. Again though, the gold wrap's going to be the majority of your toughness, but this is nice before you really start killing monsters to get your gold drops, to get the gold wrap proc going. Utility-wise, gold find, life on hit, and area damage are the only ones that are really relevant. Again, the resource cost reduction doesn't do a heck of a lot for you. So there's the build, guys. I hope you enjoy it. I've been having an absolute blast playing this on Torment 10, man. It is a lot of fun, and really for the next season and the next patch, you're going to want to have a good, efficient Torment 10 speed farming build. That's where you're going to get your Death's Breath from, for one, which in this video I'm not really picking them up because I'm on the PTR. I've got a bunch, but in Season 4 you're going to need a ton of them, especially with the Kanai's Cube and rerolling items. And then also you get your Greater Rift Keystones from the end bosses of regular rifts. And as far as Witch Doctor solo goes, I think this will be one of the fastest, most efficient builds, maybe even in a group as well. And also you get to just spam Firewall all day, which is just awesome. And you'll get that nice nostalgia factor for you guys that also played Diablo 1 with the Firewalls. So anyways guys, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe, especially if you want to see more future PTR, Witch Doctor, and Wizard content. My next plan is to put out hopefully a revamped Speed Puke build with the new Helltooth, bonuses, and the Grim Reaper, and the brand new staff that buffs Acid Cloud. I'm hoping maybe a Torment 10 speed build is viable with all those things. I'm hoping some combination of that works out, and I think it will. So look out for a video on that here relatively soon. I'll leave you guys with a little bit more gameplay. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.